Both the Trump administration and Texas move additional resources to the border. The Texas legislature is also mulling more funding for border security efforts. Right now, it's unclear when the state might cut back on spending, something billions of taxpayers' dollars have already gone towards. Fox 4's Casey Stegall in the studio tonight with the latest from the border. Casey.
Yeah, Steve, data shows that there's been a dramatic drop in the number of migrants illegally entering the country through our southern border since President Trump began his second term. Now, for context, today, the head of U.S. Border Patrol announced that apprehensions have dropped about 91% in 1 week compared to the same period of time for the previous year. But experts warn it is premature to wave any victory flags.
At first glance, it appears almost slow at the U.S.-Mexico border. Sectors previously pushed to the breaking point now not so packed, although immigration officials say don't be deceived.
All of a sudden, they've been kind of, they had this carte blanche for the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden, it's piling up in Mexico.
Victor Avila is a retired supervisory agent with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. He tells Fox 4 the powerful and dangerous cartels are just waiting in the wings, looking for new ways to exploit the system.
You are going to see an increase in seizures, I believe, not only just in between the ports of entry, but watch the ports of entry. They're going to go back to trying to their old ways of smuggling their drugs and vehicles and body carriers in any which way possible, because they have a product to move.
Case in point, earlier this week, agents intercepted a staggering 2,200 pounds of methamphetamine at an international cargo bridge in South Texas. Canines alerted on the package inside an 18-wheeler disguised as cucumbers and jalapenos. The drugs had a street value of more than $19 million.
This is only the beginning. I mean, there's a lot more to come.
It's why Governor Greg Abbott told our own Stephen Dial in an exclusive interview for a special The Issue Is set to air after the Super Bowl, Texas can't let its guard down just yet.
Why are things ramping up instead of scaling back if the situation is getting better?
This Border Patrol and ICE, they were decimated under the Biden administration. Texas is a gap filler for the Trump administration at this time.
Texas has already spent more than $11 billion of taxpayer dollars on Operation Lone Star since the program's inception 4 years ago, funds that have been used for new wall construction and border security. Next week, Governor Abbott is expected to head to Congress and ask for reimbursement of those funds.
It's a little ironic that he would ask the new administration when it was the old administration that caused the state of Texas to spend all this money. I think they'll work something out. Maybe not the entire reimbursement, but there'll be some kind of reimbursement.
So budget writers for the current legislative session have proposed sending another $6.5 billion on Operation Lone Star over the next 2 years. Governor Abbott says that figure could change, though, depending on how much or how little Congress gives to the state. We'll, of course, keep you posted. Steve?
All right, Casey Stegall in studio. Casey, thank you.
Texas National Guard soldiers can now arrest and detain people entering the United States illegally. The new powers come as part of an agreement brokered between the Trump administration and the state of Texas. It's a shift away from a tradition that typically kept armed forces away from civilian law enforcement duties. Fox 4's Amelia Jones is live with a look at the changes. Amelia.
Clarice, in the past, we've seen state governments and the federal government butt heads on moves like this, but the signed agreement was done jointly by Governor Greg Abbott and the president, signaling the two are aligned in this effort. Effective immediately, the Texas National Guard will have the ability to make immigration arrests at the southern border. On Sunday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an agreement with President Donald Trump's Customs and Border Protection, CBP. In a post to X, the governor shared the news, adding that this, quote, boosts manpower for border security.
Here, right out of the chute, the new administration, we have the two sides working together, coming up with a plan about how they're going to jointly divide some responsibilities. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's definitely a change in direction and in tone what we've seen the last several years.
David Cole is an attorney in Dallas who specializes in constitutional law. He says the joint memorandum is walking a fine line on what is legally allowed for the National Guard to do.
There's a federal law called the Posse Comitatus Act that runs back to after the Civil War, and it just flatly prohibits any use of the federal military to enforce laws within the United States. Now, this memorandum treats the National Guard as under the governor's control, a state force, and that's correct. It's a state military force if and until the president federalizes it for some reason. So he can give them instruction.
Cole says the agreement clearly outlines the National Guard is under the direction of the state government. But where things get fuzzy is that they are now allowed to enforce federal immigration law. This issue has been at the forefront of lawsuits between state governments and the federal government.
I haven't seen this before because the state and federal governments don't ordinarily work together this well. And there are a number of legal constraints that we've always kind of assumed states have on their power to let their police enforce federal immigration law.
The Texas National Guard has had a presence along the border since Governor Abbott launched Operation Lone Star in 2021. At the time, the state was frustrated with a lack of action by the federal government. The soldiers have installed barriers and mostly aided federal border agents without the ability to make arrests on their own. Whether the changes will work, Cole says only time will tell.
This is a short-term step. The memo is written like a short-term step. Let's get some people out there in the field. Let's just get this thing moving. It's a kickoff type of thing.
The agreement says the soldiers must work only under the supervision of the Customs Border Patrol. They also must communicate with the Customs Border Patrol through cell phone, radio, or other similar technology. Clarice, back to you.
Amelia, thank you.
And Governor Abbott is asking for an $11 billion reimbursement for projects at the Texas-Mexico border. Governor Abbott traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with President Trump behind closed doors. He says he told the president about the work done under Operation Lone Star, including 56 miles of completed border wall with 18 additional miles underway. He says he ordered Texas to build that wall after the Biden administration halted construction on it. Abbott also says Texas has 2 military bases at the border that could be utilized by the federal government for President Trump's immigration enforcement effort.
The Trump administration needs those facilities for U.S. soldiers for this operation or for ICE agents or other federal personnel. Texas is willing to provide those resources and facilities to the United States government.
Now, the governor says he also has identified 4,000 jail cells in the state that could be used to detain undocumented immigrants who have been arrested for crimes. And a federal reimbursement would need to be approved by Congress. Governor Abbott is returning to Washington, D.C. next week to continue pushing for that funding.
Customs agents say they arrested dozens of Venezuelan gang members in Colorado today. Those arrests as the Trump administration has started flying some illegal immigrants to Guantanamo Bay. Fox's Caroline Shively reports.
Federal agents served search warrants in and around Aurora, Colorado Wednesday. They report arresting more than 100 Venezuelan gang members as part of President Trump's plan to deport illegal immigrants and secure the border.
This is national security. When we secure the border, less people die from fentanyl, less women and children sex trafficked, less people on terrorist watches cross that border.
The first of potentially tens of thousands of migrants are being sent to the U.S. base on Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
If you're a violent gangbanger and you've been taken out of our country and we're waiting to bring you to your country, we're going to put you in a cell block built for Al-Qaeda.
The use of the base raises legal questions stemming from a 2008 Supreme Court ruling that finds anyone sent there has a right to a lawyer and a court date. Guantanamo is one of many parts of President Trump's deportation plan that has Democrats pushing back.
It's all about scaring and intimidating people. That's the same thing for Guantanamo Bay. Building a facility there is because it just sounds very frightening to a lot of folks.
In Guatemala, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced a deal for the government there to accept flights from migrants from multiple countries who are deported by the U.S.
I think that's a very important step by the government and also by the private sector.
Also on Wednesday, a federal judge in Maryland issued a second temporary halt to the president's executive order seeking an end to birthright citizenship for babies with parents who are illegal immigrants. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox 4 News.
Hundreds of activists gathered around North Texas today, participating in multiple rallies in multiple cities to have their voices heard when it comes to the recent immigration crackdowns under President Trump's second term in the White House. This is what it looked like earlier at Dallas City Hall. Fox 4's Amelia Jones was there, and she talked with several in attendance. She's live now with their stories. Hi, Amelia.
Casey, those who came to the rally at Dallas City Hall today told me they expected a bigger crowd, but understandably, they know that some in the immigrant community don't feel safe coming out. Those who did come out today said they did so to raise their voices in support of their family members, friends, and the entire immigrant community. For the second week, hundreds gathered outside Dallas City Hall to protest against the recent deportations. 18-year-old Gabriela Barrera was one of them.
My sign says that my parents fought for me, so now it's my turn to fight for them. And to me, that just means that my parents came here to give me and my sister a better life, and now I'm here to fight for their rights.
She plans to fight using her voice.
My parents mean the world to me, and I would do anything for my parents.
This week alone, ICE arrested and detained thousands of people across the country. The arrests have made some people fearful to go to work, school, and even protest like this. During Sunday night's Texas State of the State address, Governor Greg Abbott shared he supports President Trump's mission and will continue to work alongside the administration in their efforts to arrest and deport people.
To support that mission, I've ordered Texas state agencies to assist the Trump administration to arrest, jail, and deport illegal immigrants. Now, we must also require cities and counties across the state to fully cooperate with those efforts.
Meanwhile, in Arlington, more people rallied on the steps of its city hall.
Sure, everyone's in fear, you know. Nobody really wants to go out to where they used to go. No one really wants to step into school anymore.
Marie Escuela's father was deported when she was a baby. She knows the emotional turmoil this creates, so she came to show her support.
At this point, it's not, you know, just about keeping families together, but it's also about getting our rights back.
Back at Dallas City Hall, the uncertainty of her loved one's future brought Aquarela Jimenez to tears.
What's making you emotional right now?
I'm scared for my parents, and I've seen a lot of people get their parents deported, their brothers and everything, and that's just not fair. It's really not fair.
The 16-year-old feels the same fear at school, too.
In school, I'm scared for my friends because I know some of them are not from here, and I'm just scared because this is not fair. It's really not fair.
So she plans to be a voice in support of her parents, friends, and all immigrants.
We're in this together, and we will always be together, whether it be Mexicans, Guatemalans, any country, any immigrants. It doesn't matter who you are. We're all in here for this together.
So ICE has been posting daily numbers of people arrested and people detained on their X account. The latest numbers we have are from Friday, when ICE posted to X that 864 arrests were made on Friday. It's unclear how many or if any of those arrests were made right here in North Texas. For now, Casey, back to you.
All right, Amelia Jones live for us tonight. Amelia, thanks so much.